And we're back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a book review on Beloved. This tells the story of an escaped slave, Cepha, who's living with her daughter, Denver, and her mother-in-law, Baby Suggs. She was at first living with her two sons, but they ran away because the house was haunted by a ghost. The novel starts off with Paul D, a former slave, coming up on their house's doorstep, and when he does that, basically, Cepha starts to remember all of her past life and her life as a slave, and it unlocks a lot of memories. So during the story, it's like a lot of flashbacks and between dialogues and memories, and basically the flashbacks tell the story of Cepha the slave. So we learned that Cepha was born in the South to a mother that she never knew, and at the age of 13, she was sold to the Sweet Home Plantation ran by Mr. and Mrs. Garner, who were slave masters, but they were the nicer type of slave masters, I would say. While she was there with 6 other men, and all of those men, they all wanted to get their hands on her, but they decided not to. They didn't let their lust take it away, and they waited for her to decide who to marry. And she eventually chose to marry Hal, a man who worked very hard and was able to let his mother eventually pay for his mother to be freed. And when she marries him, they have 3 children, 2 sons and 1 daughter. So they're basically doing very well. So eventually, Mr. Garner, the slave master, dies, and when that happens, he's replaced by a school teacher, a very bad person, racist, very abusive to the slaves, and basically the slaves didn't like that, so they decided to run away. Cepha at the time was pregnant with a daughter, and she wasn't able to run away like the rest of them. So when they ran away, basically the school teacher found out that they were planning to run away. So him and his nephews were able to capture one of them, and they killed another one named Sixo, and they captured Paul D. When they returned, they were very angry, and they sexually assaulted Cepha, and there was a lot of problems. And Hal sat there watching, and in fear, basically. He wasn't able to do anything about it, and eventually went crazy from doing it. And Paul D found him sitting next to a butter churn, face slathered in butter, and he didn't know what to do with himself. So Cepha decided to report this mishap, or the negative thing that happened to her, to Mr. Garner. And when the school teacher found out about that, he decided to whip her, and she was pregnant, so it was like he basically whipped a pregnant woman and caused her pain and all of these problems, which goes to show how bad of a person he was. So Cepha decided that she wanted to run away. When she ran away, she was exhausted and eventually passed out from the exhaustion and pain she was experiencing. And when she was when that happened, she was found by Amy Denver. Amy Denver basically was a white abolitionist, and she helped her. She nursed her back to health, and she helped deliver her child. And then after that, Cepha was able to make it all the way to Cincinnati, Ohio, to Baby Suggs, Hal's mother, who he helped get free. And she already sent her 2 sons there earlier, so they were there. So it was basically, they met each other. So 28 days later, 28 glorious, wonderful days, the best days of their life, basically. That's when school teacher and his nephews decided to come get them. Cepha decided that it was better to flee and run away than to be returned slaves. And upon doing so, she thought it's best to kill her children, because she didn't want her children to go back to those experiences. So she was successful with killing her older daughter, who was unnamed. And when she killed her, she tried to get a headstone marked Beloved. So she was arrested, and she was arrested along with Denver. And basically, a group of white abolitionists came, protested them, and they were eventually freed from arrest. Upon doing so, they came back, Baby Suggs depressed, and they're isolated, and a lot of stuff going on. And then that's when Paul D shows up at the doorstep. So Paul D, learning about how Setha killed her child, he's like angry and just leaves them alone. And that's when Setha starts going crazy, and the ghost starts haunting and manipulating her. And she can't do anything about it, and she's just trying to please the ghost, because she doesn't know what else to do, and she goes crazy from that. That's when her child Denver decides to go out and basically find help. And when she came back, Setha attempted to murder the helper because she thought it was a school teacher. Thought it was a school teacher when it wasn't. And before she was able to do so, she was restrained, and that's when basically everything ended. The ghost disappeared out of her life, and she was like just fine all around. And that's when Paul D returned, trying to console her, and basically that's where it ends. In the story on page 13, it says, all in their 20s, minus woman, effing cows, dreaming of rape, thrashing on pallets, rubbing their thighs, and waiting for the new girls. Basically talking about how they were waiting for Setha to choose who they wanted to marry, and all of the things that they were doing while waiting. When reading this, I felt the passage was like needed to get the point across about the reality of slavery and chattel slavery during the time, and I thought it was really important to say. But at the same time, like I said, it's some things that as a reader I don't really want to. When I read, I try to imagine what's happening and try to see it in my head, but this isn't really one of the things that I would want to imagine. But I do also see the point in it, which the reality of the story adds to the rating, which makes. In another passage in the story, we see Denver's attachment to Beloved, basically. We see it talk about how Beloved was choking Seth and how Denver saved her. But at the same time, she was feeling conflicted because she didn't want to confront Beloved because of her attachment to her. And it shows that, it shows not only who Denver is as a character, but how they feel relationship-wise with the feelings they hold towards their dead sister, Beloved, who is haunting them. We see Denver moving forward emotionally, and this was a good part of the book for me because I felt like the emotions unpacked a lot in terms of actual people's feelings and emotions. So it was very realistic to me, and it added to the increased rating because it basically felt like, oh, they're going through something that's mentally conflicting, and it's like something that a lot of people go through. Like, a lot of people go through mental conflicts, not knowing whether or not they should be on one side or another side. So basically that helped add to my rating of the story. Finally, another part of the book that added to the rating was when Paul D learned about Setha's secret and how she killed Beloved. Paul D confronted Setha about whether or not this was true, and he didn't, because he just didn't want to believe it. And during this part, we see the different points of view, when the secret is being told, and how different people saw it. We also see Paul D's true feelings, his underlying feelings about Beloved, and how upon learning this, he thought negatively of Setha and even left her and compared her to an animal and called her these different things because of how he was very upset. But it was really because of his underlying feelings for Beloved. So it was a really big plot twist, and it was oh wow, I didn't know that Paul D would feel this way about Beloved. And at the same time, it's how can he be angry about something that Setha did basically because he thought it would be best for her child? And how can he basically shun her for doing so after he heard the full story, and he just basically wasn't seeing where she came from, and because he wasn't seeing where she came from, he decided that, oh no, I can't basically she's a terrible person and she has to be left alone. And I felt like that really was like, wow, it really added to like a lot of the story for me. So